So let's go and delete this. Let's go to my manage video. It's actually, the streaming stuff is actually going pretty well. Let's do this and then delete forever. Yes. And yes, we are live. Deleting. Just wait for it. Cancel this. And then, okay, so check this. And then wait for it to delete. Now we continue with the lesson.
The fun facts itself are built using an unordered list plus list items inside of the UL element. And then there is a paragraph with a link nested inside of it that should go to your LinkedIn profile. So the point here obviously is to replace all of this information with fun facts about you, with your name, with your image, your LinkedIn profile, so that when you share this with the Scrimba community, other people will be able to get to know you better. And then finally, we have an input field here and a button that won't really do anything. Run this and modify it. So if we head over to the index.javascript file, you can see that there are replace them, remove it from. Finally, there's two more parameters you can tweak. First, tell me with round path anyway, so it's new when you reach 36. Change the styling.
So now we do the what do we do with right. What we can do is creating this. First of all, we need an image. So I'll do challenge 1. Write it right under this img src, and then where should I source this? Source this. How to go and find image. Where can I upload this? Oh, new file, name file, me.jpg. Okay. How do I put my image here? How do I put an image here? Right, let's just do this. And then /imgs. Right, and then we do, what do we do? We need an h1. Guys, I hate using h1, h2 and h3 in HTML because it is probably the worst thing. It's already coded with some HTML default text, so this is not good for your my name is Pear. Oh, my name is Tong. And then what do we need? Fun fact about me, that's gonna be H2 or H3 H2. Right, we do maybe 3 fun facts about me, commas / this. Then we do paragraph P, No, we do a list. UL and li, close this and slash this. How many do we do? Like 3, 1. All right, and we do slash ul, and that's it. What do we need? A paragraph. Next is a paragraph. P, this, and then what do we call here? Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Like, LinkedIn is probably the most underrated social media on, I would say, href. TikTok is probably the most overrated. Yeah, and then like, but there's no overrated or underrated. It's just like perceived values. But LinkedIn is like a really this maybe, no, I would not say overrated or underrated, but it's more like a, it's for different settings. And for me, I feel like for my setting, I feel like LinkedIn is extremely underrated. And what will we do? LinkedIn here. My LinkedIn. href to my LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Guys, add me on LinkedIn. Add me on LinkedIn. I will change some things on this. Right, mate. What do we do? Hi, my name is Tom. Fun fact about me: 36 years old. Should I? What should I say here? Fun fact about me: nothing much. I would say I'm 22. Woo, I'm 22 years old. Okay, and then what do we do? I drop out of college. No, it's not. Whoa, about me. I like I'm from Vietnam. Yes, I'm from Vietnam. And what should I say? What should I say here? Did already deleted? Nope. Yes, deleted. So now what should I say? Thing from Vietnam. What should I say? Hmm. I stream. I stream. No, this is not do. I live in Canada, but not for now. Canada, right? We do this. And then run. Unknown errors. Yes, I have to add my image in here. We open this image. Right, and then we copy this, pop this into this, and then we are good. Unknown errors. Bum 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 bum. Can I just drag it, put it in here? Nope. New file. Okay. Drag it into here. Not going to work. Alright, delete this. How do I put my... I put pair is going to C, but pair.jpg. Now I have his face instead of my face. I cannot upload it onto here. How do I upload this?
Link on the page, pretty good to me. That it. We finally just need the placeholder and the paragraph with the overlay. Next up. Okay, hopefully that went well. UL. Close that UL because and choose download as zip because that'll download your project to your local. Double click on it to open it.
Alright, so we download it. There's no other ways that we can do. Right, let's just do the JS. I'll do space. This is going to be favorite food. Going to be orange. I'll get some dark theme. Round, sharp. Yep. Ooh, okay. We do cowboys. Yeah. Fantasy. Looks like space is pretty nice. Military. Scary superhero. Nope. I'll do space. And then we change this from tomatoes to tomatoes. Tomatol. And I need blueberry. No, orange. Orange is nice. Dark, light. Dark is nice. Is sharp, brown. Let's do round. Let's do sharp. I like sharp. I'm a sharp person. Right, we do this. And file. Show in this. We do. What do we do? One is hot. Put it up here. And then we do. This is personal website. Extract. Open this in Visual Studio Code.
That'll give it this long obscure ID. So if I were you, I would change that to something understandable, for example, personal site, and just save it so that you have your project neatly are ready to share it with the world over the next few scrims. It is going to be epic. So I look forward to see you in the next scrim after you've done all of this. I'll see you there.
Adding our project to GitHub.
Now we are going to take your code and push it up to a service.
Or GitHub. GitHub. Extremely good as a coders. Like if you are looking for project. Download. Change it. We call me. What we call tone. And then we put it in the download. Move to download. Oh, it's already there. Personal website. Oh, well. Right now we fix. Let's go to VS Code. And we fix this. We opening a lot of tabs on my computer. This might be a bad idea. It's not a potato, but it's streaming at the same time, so pretty bad. It's going to be pretty slow. Right, we open this. Yes, trust the authors. HTML, we do source, we do tone, PNG, and we run, save. Right, we go to terminals. How do I run this? Oh, I have to do run. Where's the publish buttons? Supposed to be right here. JavaScript. Right. Hey, look at me, Mario.
Called GitHub, as that is an intermediate step before we can deploy your project to the web. If you don't know what GitHub is, it is a platform for developers for hosting their code and collaborating on it with others. We use it on Scrimba. I've used it for years. I don't know a single developer who doesn't have a GitHub account, and it is also where most open source projects are hosted. So you must have a GitHub account if you are to be a web developer. Now, we're not going to go into the underlying protocol of how GitHub facilitates it. Okay, let's get started. I want you to click on the plus icon in the folder that contains all of your project and click Create Repository. Then you'll get to this menu where you can add your click on Choose Your Files, scroll a bit down, and then navigate to wherever you added your personal site on your local.
Alright. Github.com. I've been contributing to GitHub for last week. I think I did something like way before this, but it's kind of whack, so I don't count that. Okay, personal site. Right.
Then you'll get to this view right here, where you configure your repository. And a repository is basically just a folder that contains all of your project files, along with the history of how that project has changed. So call your project something like personal site, and make sure it's public, and then scroll down and click Create Repository. Then you'll get to this menu where you can add your code in many different ways. We're going to choose uploading an existing file, so click on this link right here, and then we'll get to this view right here where you can upload your files. So click on Choose Your Files, and in your file picker, navigate to wherever you added your personal site on your local computer. Click on Open. There you can see our files has been added. Scroll a bit down, and then add a so-called commit message. That is a message that will be saved in the repository in the Git protocol, and that'll help you and potentially other developers to navigate through the project and understand, what did Per do when he added these 4 files? So a commit message serves as a hint to what these changes I just did.
Oh, add files. Oh, actually interesting. Add files from Scrimba.
Are all about. So click on Commit Changes, and boom, there you have your first repository on GitHub. Really good job. We have set the stage for deploying your project in the next sprint, so I will see you there.
See guys. See.
It is time for you to deploy your site to the World Wide Web. So here we are at our GitHub repository, and what I want you to do is click on the Settings tab. That'll take you to this menu.
Setting tab. A lot of stuff.
Menu where you have a bunch of options. Go all the way to the bottom here where you see Pages. Click on that. Pages. All the way to the bottom here where you see Pages. Click on that. And that'll show you the GitHub Pages interface. GitHub Pages is a lightweight way of hosting your websites. And the only thing we need to do is choose what kind of source we want, or more specifically, what kind of branch we want to deploy. Now, branches is a concept in Git that you haven't learned yet, and actually we don't even need to understand it here because we only have one branch, and that is the main branch. So we can just click on main, like that, and then it'll work out of the box. If we now click on Save, you can see something has happened, and it says your site is ready to be published at, and then we have the URL in which we have published our site. So we can open this URL in a new window, and there we go. We have deployed our...
Wait, why don't I have this? I save. Where is this? I think I have to copy this. Whoop. Site not found. HTTP HTTP. I didn't cite the HTTP github.io. Why don't I have this? Branch main. Huh?
Personal website.
Huh. Require your site to be. Let me try http // http s comma // s comma / .io. Site not found. Guys, what happened here? What happened here? What happened here? Github. Oh my god. My site is live. Okay. There we go. You have to reset it. I'll restart it.
So now I want you to take the URL from this website and share it in the I built this channel on Discord, because I want to see your personal website and learn more about you, and I'm sure that other people in the community would love to do so as well. So go ahead and do that, and then I will see you in the next Scrim. Guess who is my favorite person in the world right now? You are.
Oh my god. I was about to say my wife, but like, no. It's me. It's me. Come on. Oh. Why am I bleeding? Hashtag, I built this. Hello guys. I just created this personal site for my front-end career path. Course. Right. Boom.
because you have just completed the HTML section of this course. That is a huge milestone. So now let's have a look at all of the awesome things you've learned. Starting out, you learned about the core HTML tags, that is the heading, h1, h2, and so on, and also the paragraph tag. And then you learned about nesting, which is how some tags are inside of other tags, which again are inside of yet other tags, eventually creating a tree structure of HTML tags. Then you learned about buttons and input fields, which are the elements that make your website interactive. And then we talked about anchor tags, a super important concept, as it allows you to create links between different, and then you, so that right now, and it's totally okay to now take a break, relax a little bit, as in the next section you are going to learn about CSS, aka Cascading Style Sheets, that people enjoy looking at. So, super excited, the CSS section.
I hate CSS. Not hate, but like, I don't really like it. But hopefully this course will make me understand more about CSS, because I don't really like that language that much. It makes you look nice, your website look nice and stuff, but after all, I just want a site that functions.
Hello everyone, it's Leanne from Scrimba here, and I just want to let you in on a quick community tip which I think will help you as you progress through the challenges. Over on Discord, we have something called module channels. Those are dedicated channels for each module of the career path, and they're a great place to meet people at the same stage as you in the career path. You can help each other, team up, or just hang out and get to know each other. As you can see, they're all under the front-end career path category. If you can't see that, it's because you don't have the pro member role yet over on Discord. But since you're a subscriber, you are eligible to get that role, and I will now show you how to do so with 2 simple steps. First, simply connect your Scrimba user account to Discord with this / and then pro in any channel. Only you will see this, and our amazing pumpkin bot will search for your subscription and add the pro member badge to your Discord account, which will open up all of the module channels. And then you can head over to module 2 and let people know how learning HTML and CSS is going for you. And if you have anything else to say, feel free to share that over to the Scrimba support.
Learn CSS. What are we now? 24 lesson. Easy. Still at Ooh.
Welcome to the second
this
section
course
of this
is
course,
loaded.
where you are going to graduate from HTML into the world of CSS, or Cascading Style Sheets, as it stands for. This is super exciting because now you'll be able to make your sites look beautiful as well. So the main project of this section is actually the google.com homepage, because this time around you are going to write the CSS as well. And this probably looks a little bit frightening right now, but don't worry, I'm going to take you through it step by step. And actually, before we get going with Google, we're going to get you familiar with the syntax here and have some fun destroying wikipedia.org. So it's going to be a lot of fun and we have no time to lose. Let's just get started.
Right, my first line of CSS. It's easy.
Okay, so let's get you writing your first lines.
Redesign the cookie widget. Make sure you change all the listed CSS property
of CSS straight out of the gate. As you can see here, we have an HTML file which has a body that simply has "please accept our cookies" as text directly in the body tag. And that is rendered here in the mini browser. However, as you'll notice, the style doesn't exactly look like default browser styling. And that is because we've added this line here, which says link, meaning it's linking to something. And what kind of relation does this link has to our HTML? Well, it's rel style sheet. It is a sheet that contains styles. And where does this sheet live? Well, that is dictated by the href attribute, which you probably recognize from anchor tags, and it's pointing to styles.css. And lo and behold, in our file system we have a styles.css file. And there we can see a few lines of scary looking code you've never seen before, perhaps. However, don't worry, we're going to go through this. So if we were either, but it's at least cookie widget. By changing the syntax, filing them, however you're doing it. So here, head over to the HTML. This actually is what you start with when writing a CSS rule. Which in this case is color. The body just inside the property. So what I want you to do now is redesign this cookie widget. Make sure you change all of the listed CSS properties. That's background, color, font size, font weight, text align, and margin top. And what you'll change it to is up to you, but I've given you the hints of what kind of values the properties expect here in the comments on the right-hand side. You can see comments in CSS is done with this. And so I want to run this once. So, really good job writing your first lines of CSS. That is no small accomplishment. The background, I know that saddle brown is as you start typing. So that is how I found saddle brown. Now cookie-ish. The font line the browser. See what happens? Spacing, not fully so that there it is centered, and right there it is pushed all the way to the right-hand side. Let's center it for this time. Which means that we only have the margin top left. That's also a pixel value, as the font size was, but it's set to 5 pixels. Let's remove that. Let's bring it down to 0 and see what happens. Ooh, you can see the text jumped up a little bit, and now there's no spacing in between the top of the browser and the text itself. So it adds margin that is spaced 20 only when you default. So this means that we can use this in order to push the text down to the middle of the text itself. Let's remove that. Let's bring it down to 0, which means that we only have the... And I can do center. Yep, there it is centered. And right, there it is pushed all the way to the right-hand side. Let's center it for this time. Which means that we only have the margin top left. And that is also a pixel value, as the font size was. But it's set to 5 pixels. Let's remove that. Let's bring it down to 0 and see what happens. Ooh, you can see the text jumped up a little bit, and now there's no spacing in between the top of the browser and the text itself. So it adds margin that is spacing to the top. So this means that we can use this in order to push the text down to the middle of the browser, kind of centering it vertically. Let's try, for example, 20. Ooh, not fully centered. Let's do 40. Yes, that looks really good. Now, before we move on, there's one thing I want to mention, which is that normally, when you deal with colors in CSS, you likely won't see these plain English descriptions of colors. Instead, you'll rather see with a hashtag in front of it. And this is called a hex color code. And it is blue, this specific saddle brown color. Boom, you can see that the color is suddenly on the inside, as that's outside of the kind of colors the different hexes. Don't worry about it, you're not these properties later down the line. So let's just move on. Now that you know enough CSS to be dangerous, let's use your newly acquired superpower in order to destroy Wikipedia. And for that, we need a Wikipedia page. And about the coolest one there is this list of helicopter prison escapes. I mean, oh my god, how insane is that? So click this image and you'll be taken to this article, and then I'll show you step by step how we can destroy it with CSS. So the first thing you need to do is to right-click, as that'll open this menu where you can choose Inspect, and once you click that, the DevTools will open. Then choose the icon in the far left, as that allows you to use your cursor to select elements on the page, so that when you hover over an element like this one, you'll see that the DevTools selects it for you. So if you move your cursor over to the logo, you'll see that one selected, and if you move your cursor over to the main tab, and don't worry, click there, and you'll be able to actually apply CSS directly to this page. This body content, the X icon in this article.
Okay.
Okay, so now it's time for you to, yet again, build the google.com homepage. But this time around, you're also going to write the CSS so that you'll understand everything that goes into building this elegantly designed search engine. As you can see, I've set up the bait pointing to the Google. which is our search field. And it's horrible. It asks me to link to the CSS file. You can see I have a style.
Okay. Okay, we do this style. And then what do we do? Screen, right? Source. Style. Tag. And CSS. Now we do link. Link. Link HTML to CSS. Link CSS to HTML. It's supposed to be like that. Rel style sheet. Copy. And we do this. Run. Do background. White. Right. Image. Going to be Sanders. Input. Align. Center. Align south. Nope. What do we do here? It's probably margin left. We do 0 auto. 0 auto. Boop. Now we run this. Yes, now we have the. It's going to be borders, colors. It's going to be hash 0000. Supposed to be. It's going to be a light gray, right? Light gray. Those. Not 111 1 0 0 0 0 0 0. Be 0 1 1 1 1. Alright, mate, so 0 0 0 0. Give you this. And we do border radius. Going to be 2 pixel. Make it 5 15. Do 10. 10 is good. And then we do width. Going to be how do I call this? Width is going to be 500 pixel. Margin left. 50 pixel. Really? Zero auto. Not really responsive. %. Not working. Let's do 50 pixel. And we do image. Image. We do size. What is it called? Width. 25%. Run. Definitely not 25, it's going to be 75%. Okay, now we align centers. Text align centers. Not going to do anything. Centers. Content. Align content. Centers. Nope. How to align image. Margin left auto, margin right auto. Right. Run.
You need to link to, I would do it as well. Yes, into Google, HTML file, horrible. So we can remove that, so that it looks white again, start styling our page.
Oh, we do align.
The first thing we want to fix in our example here are the widths of the elements, because if we compare it to the finished sign, you can see that the input field is meant to be wider than the logo. However, in our example, that's not the case. Quite the opposite actually, the logo is much wider than the input field. So we need to shrink the logo and then make the input field wider. So I'm going to start and do one of these, and then you will do the other. I happen to know that the width we want to have on this input field is 400 pixels.
400.
What I'm then going to do is target the input field.
Alright. Target the input here. Input with 400 pixel. Alright. And we do image with 300 pixel. Alright.
Using the element name X, and boom. And if your line is skewed now, okay, brackets, and that is now a lot.
Okay, inline versus block.
Okay, I've discovered a problem with our Google site, which is that if we make the browser really wide, you can see that suddenly the items stack up beside each other on the same line. And that's obviously not the kind of behavior we want. We want them to always be stacked on top of each other. And in order to fix this, you have to learn about inline elements versus block elements. And that's best understood through the lens of an example. So let's say that you, for example, have a collection of things you want to showcase. You could be like George Franzen, for example, and collect dinosaur poo. He actually has the world's largest collection of fossilized feces, and naturally he wants to exhibit them in a museum. And if he were to use display inline on his images, they would stack up beside each other, like this. So kind of like in a line, horizontally. However, had he used...
See, anything can make money. It's just how you present it, how you market it. Even a pool museum can make money. Can you imagine that? Display poop so that other people can see and smell, and not can eat, but like, yeah, you get the idea. It's more on how you present your items, your products, your purpose, or whatever it is. It's how you display it and how you market it. It's not like, oh, you cannot make money from poop. No. But if you have a niche, you have like a niche. Oh, this is not normal human poop. This is poop from million years ago. Poop from dinosaur. Poop from like white fangs Siberian tigers. Is it right? White fangs Siberian tigers. White fang. It's a movie. Wait, what do they call them? Tigers. What is the one with the long fang tiger? The one in the movie, what's it? Ice Age? Diego, what is Diego Leary? A mammoth, a sloth, a saber's tooth tiger. Yeah, if you market it like that, people would like, oh, I might wonder how mammoth poop looks like. Might be massive, but I haven't seen it. So, as if you have a niche. Oh, a saber-tooth tiger poops might be interesting. Might smell good. But yeah, after all, it's how you display and market it.
They would stack up on top of each other, so that nothing else can be placed. Block stacks on top. Another way to look at this is that the block level element requires the previous one. Obviously, to turn these elements into blocks, when you make the browser work the same, these will always stack up on top of each other.
Right.
So, great job. Let's move on. The next thing we need to fix is the lack of white space above our Google logo. Because if we take a look at the design here, we want quite a lot of space in between the top of the browser and the logo. Back to the very first scrim in this section, we added some space above the text in our cookie.
Alright, we do... How much space do we need? Probably like a 50 margin top. Margin top 50 pixel. That's a lot. Let's do 10. Let's do 20. Yeah, 20 is good. And then this one is also margin top. Actually, you need a margin. Let's watch the video. Let's go from left, top, right, bottom. So margin is probably like 150 pixel left, right? Probably like a 30 pixel top, then 0 pixel, 0 pixel. You can do this. Wait, how does margin and CSS work? Where does it goes? Like top right, bottom left, top right, bottom left. Oh, it's go like that. We got that. Top is 50, top right, bottom left, 0 pixel. Now we do margin top, now we do left 50,
space is called margin or margin top base. Is called of art.
100 pixel display block. Leave.
Now, while it totally works to add the margin top directly on the image here, you'd most likely not see professional developers do this. Because what they do instead is wrap these two elements in some kind of container and then control the positioning of these elements indirectly via that container. And in order to do this, you have to learn about the div. I'm going to create an opening div and then indent these two, and then a closing div below here. Now, if we run this code, seemingly nothing has happened because the div actually does very little in itself, though it is indispensable for web developers. Just to show you how important it is, let's take a look at Facebook and my timeline. Here I've opened up DevTools and inspected one of the timeline items, and you can see it is actually a div inside of a div, inside of another div, inside of yet another div, inside of a div, inside of a div. Whew. Divs really do rule the world, so it's important that you learn about them. And the way we'll use this div now is by removing the margin top styling from the image and then add it to the div itself. And the reason this is important is, let's say that, for example, Google decides to create a video here instead, or a interactive doodle or some kind of game. They often play around with the Google logo. Well, if so, it's a really bad idea that it is the image itself that controls the margin from the top of the browser and down to the content, because that image might be removed. So it is a solution that will get you into trouble in the future. So what we'll do here is we'll simply instead target the div and then remove the margin top from the image, and boom, it has popped up. Now we lost all of our white space, but if we add it back to our div, we are back at the design we started out with, seemingly not grim.
Css Classes.
The reason you need to learn about classes now is because our current setup, where we simply have the elements like this, and then selecting the element using the element selector in CSS, will give us bugs down the line. Because when we add the two buttons beneath the input field, we'll actually wrap these two in a div as well. And let's see what happens at this point. What I'll do now is simply add the HTML for these buttons down here beneath the input field. So it is a div with 2 buttons inside of it. And then you can see we are closing that div, the inner div, and then we are closing the outer div. Let's run this code, and oh wow! What you can see is that the spacing between the input field and the buttons is totally off. That is because our CSS element selector here selects any div it can find in the HTML document and applies the margin top to it. So it doesn't just select the first one, but it can select thousands of divs. So this is a very generic solution, and likely not something I'll write class, simply doing call this div my main element.
That's an ID.
And now the way I select that in the CSS is by, instead of just writing the element name, simply doing .main, like that. Now, if I rerun this code, you can see now the margin top is only applied to the outer div, our main class, and not to the div which wraps the 2 buttons. So that is exactly what we needed. Now, I'm going to remove these 2 buttons here because we don't want to deal with them just yet. And then I'm going to give you a challenge. First, you're going to add a class to each of these 2 elements. That is the image and the input. You have to decide what you will call the 2 classes, but make sure to give them different names. And then you're going to, in the CSS, replace the element selectors with class selectors. So that is the img selector here and the input selector here. And obviously, the CSS class selectors you're going to replace them with is the ones you have added to the elements right here. So go ahead and do this right now.
Add class to each of these 2 elements. This is going to be a class of img's image. And then we do a class input field. Right. Replace the 2 elements like this. We can do dot image to input field. Field run. There we go. Save this. Fly through this.
Like that. And here do dot search. So great job solving this.
Oh, this is easy. Easy, too easy. I want some JavaScript. I like JavaScript.
Okay, now it's time to take a closer look at margins. And you've already dipped your toes into
this is actually interesting.
Margin top, so you might have some intuition about what margins do. However, now you're going to learn it properly through creating flags with CSS. Because flags are just awesome. I mean, take a look at this flag here, for example, from the Republic of Venice, a state which existed.
Ooh, that's a dope flag. Republic of Venice. Oh, I like this flag. It has some personality. This looks nice. Might not be good on print, but like, wow. I haven't seen a flag that is like this nice. Like most country now have like pretty normal flag, pretty simple. But this one, ooh, I like this figures. A flying lions, like a books. I'm assuming this is Romans.
For over 1,000 years in Europe, and it contains, of course, a flying lion holding a book. I mean, what's more natural than that? Or this one right here, for the Isle of Man. I mean, have you ever seen a more creepy creature than this three-legged thing right here? Imagine having that thing running after you.
What is the idea behind this? Isle Man. It looks like, yeah, it's 3 legs, but like, why is it 3 legs? Actually, how about we search it? Isles of Man flag. Meanings. Actually, we're gonna see meaning. Symbolize the sun, see the power of life, or power and life. That the sun is the 3 legs. Try Cascading. Symbol has many potential origin. It symbolizes the sun, see the power and life. Symbol closely related to Sicilian legs, naked legs with the head of Medusa in the center. Huh? Medusa? A red flag with a Trinidad. Oh, this is the island of Sicily. This is nice. Silver and sign. Wow. We learn new things every day.
That would not be fun, and this flag would be really hard to create in CSS actually, so we're not going to create this one. We're going to start off at a much easier level with just some very simple shapes. So let's have a look at those actually. Here is what we're going to work with. As you can see, there's simply 3 divs inside of the body tag, and each div has a class red, blue, or green. If we check out the styles.css, you can see that these 3 classes apply a background color to each of the elements and sets the height to 100 pixels. And here we have the result, 3 rectangular boxes that are stacked on top of each other. And that tells us that these are display block, because display block stacks on top. There's one thing that bothers me here, and that is that we have a little bit of white space around the 3 items. Why is that? Well, actually, it's because our browser is trying to help us here. It's assuming that we want a little bit of space around the body tag.
I'm assuming
so that these 3
because the body already has a
of the browser
default margin, so you have to switch it up.
In code is that the browser targets the body and sets a
margin to 0
of 8
pretty
pixels.
easy. 8 pixels.
When I added this, nothing changed. So if I remove this, it's still the same, meaning that this style here is applied automatically. So that means that margin is actually the space around an element.
Now I know that margin in CSS has a default margin. The body has a default margin value of 8 pixels. Now, well,
because now
interesting.
If we change this to 0, boom, there you can see, suddenly our divs touch the edges of the browser. Now, here at the bottom, they stop after 300 pixels since we've told them to. So this margin 0 here seemingly didn't change anything at the bottom because the bottom contains white space anyway if we make our browser tall enough. But anyway, that's a digression. Let's get back so that the browser is completely filled up with these 3 items. And now let's play a little bit around with margins. So what do you think will happen if I add a margin top of...
So margin is basically the white space between elements. For example, you have 2 div, so the white space, which is white space between the 2.
10 pixels on the red here. Take a guess.
Oh, hello EDM Games. How are you? I'm taking a new course, which is a front-end career path, and I just finished the what is it called? JavaScript for beginners in like 7 days. 7 days, pretty fast. I finish it. I create a few applications, create something pretty cool. And now we are relearning CSS, HTML again with this front end. So this is like a more overall course. So at the beginning it's always like simple basic stuff, and then later on it's going to be like a little bit more advanced. So we keep going with this, which is a CSS course,
Margin top,
CSS module.
Boom! It added 10 pixels on the top. What do you think will happen if I add margin left 10 pixels as well? Let's try it. Okay, so it added 10 pixels on the left-hand side.
It's just basically margin JS in 7 days. Yep. That course, I fly through 2 modules in like 1 day. There's like 4 modules. So the next 2 is like a little bit harder. So I take my time, take like 4 days. You're supposed to complete that within 80 hours. No, not 80 hours. Yeah, 80 hours. But like we are pretty quick. But this one is going to take me, I would say, according to my calculation, if I do it fast, it would take like a month. The program say that I would need around 3 to like 6 months to complete this, but highly doubt that. It's just like a estimation. I believe that if I do it for 8 hours a day, become my full-time job, I would be able to finish this within 1 month, and then we will apply for some job. I think you should practice JS in lead code. I heard about lead code before. I would say I would create something first. I would finish this, create something, because practicing JS in lead code is for more like a big interview, like Google interview, Facebook. They all use lead code. I found a better platform. Yeah, it is actually, lead code is really high. It is a really good platform. Or you can go to Algo Expert. Amazing platform as well. In my opinion, is better than lead code because the virtual coding interface is way better. I've tried lead code before, and I tried Algo Expert for like some days, but I feel like Algo Expert interface look a lot better, and is you can look for hints, stuff like that. Yeah, overall, I will try and practice my JS. I'm actually taking a more advanced JavaScript course, and let's see how it's go. But right now I'm focusing on this. It's called front end career path. So this will take like around 3 to 6 months. Let's say you do, it's probably like 1,000 hours. Yeah, like look at how ridiculous. Right now we have around 5, 8, 8, 8, 16, 16, 2, 18, 18, 19, 27, 7, 27, 30, Oh, this is a lot. This is a lot. I would say around 80 hours at least. 80 hours.
It's only on the red rectangle, not the blue.
But let's just continue with where we are at. Pretty much on this part of the course, we just fly by lesson because everything we already know.
Or green rectangle. Likewise, if I do margin 8, 10 pixels, it adds 10 pixels to the right hand side as well. If I do a of margin on the bottom of the red box, so go ahead and give that a shot right now.
Just going to type in so that I will get the muscle memory. Margin bottom 100 pixel, and I think we got this. Yep, we got it.
Because you just created the flag of
Monaco,
the Gambia. So go ahead and give that a shot right now.
Gambia going to be 10. Blue, margin top, margin top. So how is your study? EDM games? $10 pixel. Hey. 10 pixel. Run.
Well, Wilger outside of the schools. Okay, with that, let's move on.
We move on. We move on. Fly through this module.
Okay, we're back at our Google project. I want to give you a quick challenge. I want you to add some space between the logo and the search field. Because as you can see here, there's some spacing in between the elements in our design. However, in our project now, they are crammed together. There are 2 ways.
Oh, I was asking, how is your school?
You can do this using margins, and I want you to think about which 2 ways that is, and choose one of them.
Is it
Go ahead
going?
and do this
Is it going well?
right now.
Oh well. What am I supposed to do here? Add some space between the logo and the search field. Logo and search field. What are the 2 different ways we can do with this margins? We can add top or bottom. Top of the input field or bottom of the logo. So margin bottom. It's going to be 20 pixel. You can use shorthand. Yep. Pretty easy stuff.
Okay, hope 20 PM the same. So, great job, let's move on.
Alright, we fly, we go fast with all this.
Okay, now you are going to learn about centering elements in CSS. And that is a scary topic for a lot of developers. So scary that this Stack Overflow question about how to horizontally center an element has been viewed 4.5 million times. So if you think this is a little bit confusing, you are in very good company. So don't worry about it. So with that in mind, let's move over to our example. You are going to center this dinosaur poo. As you can see in the CSS, it has just one property set at this point, which is a width of 200 pixels. That is because the image is so wide originally that if I don't set that width, it'll just take up more space than we have available. And setting the width of it is actually an important thing in order to center it, because there are 3 things that need to be in place when we are to center elements with the technique you are about to learn, aka centering with margins. And these 3 components are: first, the element needs to be display block. How is an element supposed to center itself if it doesn't command full control over all the horizontal space? If it's display inline and allows other elements to stack themselves besides the element, well, then it won't be able to center itself because that space now is busy with other things. So in order to center this poo, it needs to control
Has to
all
display
the horizontal space. So it needs this block like that. Now that didn't change anything, but under the hood, the poo now controls the full horizontal space. Okay, the second part is that it must have a width. And that is what we've done here already. Because how is this item supposed to be centered inside the browser if it is wider than the browser itself? That's often what happens with either large elements or with some HTML elements who just naturally actually expand to take up all the available space in the block.
I see.
So we have to make sure that our element has a width. And finally, we set the margin on the left-hand side and the right-hand side to the value auto. Let's just do that. Take up the available space. Trying to get all of the available white space. Let's just divide it evenly amongst both of us. And the result, all you need to do is do the next scrim.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. You have school?
Same boat as you. Let's move on to the next scrim.
Centering our content. Wow.
Okay, we are back at our Google project. Now your challenge is to center the logo and the search field using the technique you just learned. So go ahead and give that a shot right now, and then I will of course show you the solution afterwards as well.
Let me type here. Stop. Let's do this. Right, see you later. Let me do margins. Left, right. Display block, we already have width. And then we do left is going to be auto. Margin. Right. Auto. Search input. It's going to be margin. Left. Auto. Margin. Right. Auto. Right. Finish this.
Margin left, the right here, drop the paste.
Okay, padding is like adding more of that same. Let's say you have a red background and you add a padding, so it's going to drag that red thingy to be that value. Margin is going to white space between elements.
We need to take a little step back and learn a new CSS concept, which is the close relative of margins called padding. And we're of course going to learn that through the lens of an example. So here I have just a simple div, which contains a little bit of text, or specifically the two first sentences in the white paper behind Bitcoin. And let's say we want to turn this into a nice looking card that people can read. If so, we'd probably create a class and call it card. And then of course in the style.css, we'd select that card and apply the styling. As for now, it just has one property set, which is the color that we've set to a shade of black that isn't pure black, but a little bit softer, so to speak. That is because by default, the browser uses pure black as the text color and pure white as the background color. And as a rule of thumb, you never want to have pure black on pure white, because that's not a pleasant experience for the eyes. So instead we went for this. But that was a digression. Let's move on with turning this into a nice looking card. So a card needs a background color, so let's just do background light gray, for example, like that. And we also don't want our card to be full width, because as you remember, divs are blocked by default and take up the full width if you don't specify any width on it. So we're gonna do with, for example, 300 pixels, like that. Then we also want some space above the card. That is, of course, margin top. Let's push it 50 pixels down from the top. And finally, it should be centered, so let's do margin left, crammed all the way into the edges of the div, which doesn't look particularly good. And that is where padding comes into play. So now I'm just going to apply the padding by doing padding, and for example, 20 pixels, like that. And as you can see, that core breathing room inside and down here, and now it's right here, is the X one up here. And then basically a short pixels on it to make our card. And I've actually removed all of the padding rules from the CSS, as I want you to build some.
Alright, we do padding top. Padding top. Top is equal to 100 pixel. Padding right. Padding right. Going to be 100 pixel as well. All right. Rerun. Good.
Muscle memory bottom of pretty much like our default. The padding of a div is. So now you've learned about controlling the space on the outside of the element with the margin and on the inside of the element with the padding. But wouldn't it be nice if we could also control the border in between the margin and the padding? And it turns out we can, through, you guessed it, the border property. Because if I write border here, and then specify, for example, 2 pixels thickness, solid in shape, and then color red. You can see, then we get a border which is on the outside of the padding, but on the inside of the margin. And if we change any of these 3 values here, it'll update accordingly. So let's try 8 pixels width instead. You can see it's much thicker now. Instead of solid, we can do dotted like that. Pretty weird. And instead of red, we can do, for example, FFF. White in hexadecimal. Or just white like that. Or just blue, so it's a little bit clearer. Now, there are many types of borders, but in 99.9% of the cases, you want to use solid like that. And also, very often, you'd want to soften up these corners. And you can do that with the border radius property. And here you specify a pixel at some point, do now. So go ahead and change the values of the border and border radius so that our example here matches the design I provide.
Going to be 2 pixel, no, 5. And then we do radius 20. Right, pretty much it. I can look it with my eyes. No, I'm right.
In the speak small to open turns model piece like this. Let's give you a new box model practice in the next Scrimba. I'll see you there.
I need something harder. Ooh.
Okay, now you are going to create a really neat looking button, namely the following button on Twitter. Let's zoom in a little bit,
nice.
And here you can see it. This is the button you see if you already tips and tricks, the radius, and as we're not going to worry about the font, it is a little bit different, but other than that, you should try to make it look identical.
Right. We do here is the tab buttons, bouton, and then bodies. We do all the padding first. Background white. Right, colors, font style, bold, Is it text style? Bold. Doesn't work. Font size. Large. Larger. Yep. Then we do padding. Five pixel. Each of it. Top right. Top is going to be, let's do 10 pixel. 10 pixel, then 5 pixel, then 15 pixel, or 25, yep, 10 pixel, then another 25 pixel, right. Going to be fonts, weight, on weight, bold, borders, bold. Then this is going to be border radius. (20 pixel). 20, 30. Let's do 30. 30 looks nice. Then we do text colors. This on weight, others colors. So colors, borders, colors. Hey, come on. Right, run. Why does it look like this? Yep, pretty much it.
I've given you the wording. Bottom 5 pixels, 2 on 18. That looks quite good. That looks a lot. So it doesn't matter at all the grip. Okay, we are back at our Google project, and now you are going to fix the design of our search field. And you're actually going to get a design spec and the proper walkthrough of how I want it to look. So here I've opened up the dev tools, actually on the right hand side, as I want to inspect the box model of this element with you. And if you wonder how I managed to stick the dev tools to the right hand side here, just click these 3 icons if you're in Chrome, then you can choose the dock side. So let's move on down here to the box model of the input field. And if I hover over the content in the box model here, you can see that it says 400 pixels times 24 pixels. And you can see the content is marked in blue in the mini browser here. So that means that our width is 400 pixels. We know that because we set it ourselves here. And the height of the content should be 24 pixels. Okay, let's move on to the padding. If I hover over that, you can see it's green and it's highlighted in green in the mini browser. The padding at the top and the bottom are 10 pixels, as you can see. So here is your design spec given to you by your hipster designer down in the bottom right corner, as that also contains thickness of border 1 pixel and implemented using CSS.
Right, height of content, height 24 pixel. Then we do padding above and padding below. Padding above 10 pixel, none. 10 pixel, none. Or we can do padding 10. Does it work? I say 0. 0. What if padding doesn't have a values? Zero, zero, zero. All right. 0. So we do run this. Can I say none? Yeah, none looks 0, 0. Run this. Should be none. None. Do padding at both sides. What did you mean by padding at both sides? Hey. Ten, 30. Oh God. Just say padding 30 pixel. 30 pixel. Right. Then we do thickness. Borders 1 pixel. Colors. So DFE 1E5. DFE 1E5. Right. Border radius. Radius 24 pixel. Borders CSS border W2S.
default.
Solid. We got the solid state. Solid. Yes. Run. For the radius 20 pixel. Run. Okay, that's good.
Set height of input field. Unbrand thing we have inside, and you produce whatever you want. I just wanted you to be aware of the fact that this is the recommended way according to Stack Overflow. With that, let's move on.
Lines height. Should I go Yim now?
Okay, now we're gonna add the first button to our Google project. So I'm gonna head over to the HTML, and here beneath the input field, I'm just gonna type button like that, and this will be the Google search.
We'll finish
button.
this second
There we
module.
have it. Doesn't exactly look good, but don't worry about that. Now I want to give this a class as well, and
5
a class
hours.
name will
We actually did 5 hours. Wow.
often see used for buttons is simply btn, like that.
Let me delete this.
Okay, now that we have that, I want you to center the button and add some space above it. So go ahead and use the class selector to select this button and solve this challenge. Good luck.
Select the buttons. Add some space above it. Right? To button class btn. Dot btn. Going to be display block width not going to be 100 pixel, 200 pixel, 150, right? Align content centers. Nope. What is it? Oh, margin left, auto, margin right, auto, and then padding, add some space above it, margin top, it's going to be 5, let's do 10 pixel. We are generous with space. We are generous. Alright.
What about the width? However, it's not needed, because if we remove the width, you can see that it still has a width. Needs a width in order to just doing the sample 30 pixels. Yeah.
Fly through this. We are about to finish module 2 of Web Dev Basics.
Now we are going to style the button in our Google project. Because as you can see, this is how our button currently looks, but this is how we want it to look. So we gotta do a bunch of changes. However, there's one thing I want to change actually on this google.com homepage. Because notice how low the contrast is between the background color of the button and the background color of the entire website. It's hardly possible to see that there's any difference. And that's not good, because it reduces the accessibility of the site and makes it hard for people who are visually impaired to use it, and actually to print. They have this nice little contrast checker where you can paste in the foreground color and the background color and then get a contrast ratio. And this F8, F9, FA hex color is the one that Google is using. And if we scroll a bit down, you'll see that Google indeed fails miserably on this test. Complete failure. The ratio is 1.05, though it should have been 4.5 or more. So not good, Google. So
Not
what we
good.
will do instead
Not good.
is change the back. We are going to use this one right here.
Okay.
However, I'm not giving you the value.
Right, we want to use that. Use padding, style the button according to the provided right? Border. Does it have like a border style? None. So that we eliminate the wrappers. We do background. It's going to be this colors. And we this. Right now it is visible now. The real background started according to provided design. Padding is going to be, I'm looking at 5, 10, 5 pixel, 10 pixel, 5 pixel, 10 pixel, and then it looks going, let's do 10, 20, 20, 10, 20. Right, it's looking better now. Now I want font weight going to be bold. Right, mate. Yeah, looking like it. Now we do border radius. Border radius. This is going to be around 5 pixel. Right, that's good. It's nice.
Values of any of them. For example, give half this button. Let's hear.
Boom.
Pretty good, but for you to reach the arm.
Boom, boys.
Now we are going to add the second button to our Google project. This I'm feeling lucky button right here. And I want you to do that on your own first. So that's your challenge. Add the next button. And do remember to give that button a btn class so that it's styled as our search button. And once you've done that and executed the code, I want you to take a look in the mini browser and ask yourself, why aren't our buttons behaving as we want them to? Because as you'll see, there's something wrong with the layout, at least when comparing it to this layout right here. So go ahead and do that.
Because we didn't put it in div. And it's going to be button class for this. GG. This is going to be, what is this? Okay. btn. Just name like I'm feeling lucky. I'm feeling lucky. Run. Yes. GG. Run. Right, now we style the dot lk btn. This is not going to be like this, but display block inline margin left.
But right now, interesting to do in our button is that our button is taking up all the available space on the exactly this line right here. Stacks on top. We aren't able to on the same line yet. Sure about centering, you learned that display block and this layout, we have to use a different technique, super flexible way using Flexbox. And since you're going to use Flexbox several times throughout this course, I want you to get familiar with it right away. So in the next scrim, we're going to talk about Flexbox, but before we do that, I just want to show you the simple way as well, so that you've seen it. Because, as you might remember from one of the very first scrims in this section, we used something called text align in order to align our text either to the left, right, or center. Now, the text align property actually works on all inline elements, not just on text. So what we can do is remove the display block from our buttons, according to their code. Both of these two as well, as you can see, it made are now centered. So here we have told main, the parent, so we'll do text align, center, like that, and boom, both buttons. So
that's not
that
responsive.
Was the easy button.
Flexbox. Let's learn Flexbox. It's actually really nice.
Flexbox is everywhere. Let's just have a look at Twitter, for example. Here, the menu on the left-hand side is created with Flexbox, as with the tweet options menu and the timeline itself. And guess what the trends for you and who to follow is created with? You guessed it, Flexbox.
Flexbox,
so this
baby.
is something you need to learn. Let's imagine that you have an e-commerce website, which you can see here, that sells shoes, hoodies, and t-shirts. Well, then you'd probably have a navigation menu like this one, where users can click and then probably open up a sub-menu or something like that. As you can see, the items stack on top of each other. You can head over to the styles.css and just have a quick look at that. You can see I've aligned the text to the center inside of all the items. Now the question is, what if I, instead of this vertical layout, wanted a horizontal layout, which is more common for so-called navigation bars? So something that looks like this. Well, this is where Flexbox comes to the rescue. And in order to turn this into a Flexbox layout, I would first have to wrap these three items in a container, because a Flexbox layout always consists of a container and its direct children.
So container and direct children.
Wrap it in a div, and give this a class of, for example, nav-wrapper, like that. If I run this now, nothing happens, because divs, as you know, are invisible unless you give them any styling or content. So let's head over to the style stuff, and boom! Suddenly we have forced our default, but one row. Now this layout flows from left to right along the horizontal axis, and that is pretty significant, given that these items were display blocked by default. But Flexbox, as powerful as it is, overrides that and forces them onto one line. However, we haven't got quite the layout we want yet. As you can see, it's centered, and there's also some space in between the items. Now, let's start with the centering, because Flexbox now has control over these items and can decide where along the main axis they should be positioned. So we can do justify content. That is a little bit of a weird name for a property, but that's just how it is. And then set that to center, like that. Now all of the items are centered. And the final step is just to get some spacing in between these items, and that is done with our good old friend margin. So we'll do margin left, let's do 10 pixels, and let's add the same thing on the margin right, like that. And there we have the layout we want in, or alternatively, do space dash around. That's pretty cool. Now we've distributed all the white space around each of the items. I just wanted to demonstrate this to
Okay. So Flexbox basically. What? Flexbox?
Okay, we are back at our Google project, and now your job is to center these two buttons besides each other. Meaning getting to this layout right here. And the way to do that is, of course, using Flexbox, so you'll wrap the two buttons in a Flexbox div and then center them. And then also, I want you to give the div a class of btn-wrapper. So you'll need to modify both the HTML and the CSS here. Now, before you start, I'm going to remove these 3 lines here because they are solely there in order to center our buttons using this display block and margin left right auto technique. However, now we're going to use the Flexbox technique. And we don't want to use both techniques at the same time because that'll just be confusing as they will affect each other. So I will remove these lines, and now you're left with this left-aligned layout here. So please take over here, do this challenge.
Right, so we call this div. What do we class them? Box wrappers, button wrappers. Wrap it like a burritos. Is it ID or class? Class. Class. Div, right? And then we do class here. Button wrappers. Display block. Display. Flexbox. Margin top. Margin right. What do we do here? Justify content. Centers. And then we do BTN. Padding right. Padding. I got nosebleed there. Nope. I've been getting a lot of nosebleed. Margin left 10 pixel, and then margin right 10 pixel. Right. Alright. We are good.
And then return back, hopefully.
Google clone recap.
Now, there's one final thing I want you to know, and that is that you are amazing. Because you have taken your very first step into the world of CSS, and that is more than most people ever do. So take this moment to feel great about yourself. And also, let's take this moment to recap what you've learned. Starting out, you learned about the CSS syntax, that is how you select elements and also use properties and values. And then you learned the key concept about inline elements versus block elements. So block elements stacking on top of each other, like these two, and inline elements standing kind of in a horizontal line, like the buttons here. Moving on, you learned about margins, which is how you create white space, the text type and color, and also a closer look at the buttons. And we have CSS. Also, a big thing is centering in CSS. You learned 3 different ways of doing this. And the final way you centered elements was
Can we get a
Flexbox, a super powerful tool that all front-end developers need to be comfortable with. So you have learned a lot. Now I think you should take a little break.
How do I do Flexbox? Flexbox. CSS trick. Yeah, Flexbox is amazing. It's a new technology. Painters, inline, flex direction, like row reverse, columns. Wow, there's a lot of things that you can do with Flexbox. But for now, I will stop the stream here. We will come back tonight around 8 or 9. Right now it's 3. I'm going to do help my friends do some exercise. Then we will be back at least 8 hours a day. So today we do from 9 till 11:30, so 2.5 hours. And now we do from 1 to 3, so like 4 hours. 4.5. But we fly through this, so we do another like 2 hours like at night, and we will be good. We will be set to finish this course within a month.